these guys have had, they're both at a very similar point in their career, what kind of impact that has on their strategy for this fight?
Certainly. We have the NorCal fighter who says that Khabib Nurmagomedov is his favorite fighter of all time, and he says that you could expect from him a fight. On the flip side, we have Joseph Garcia, who said that you can expect to see guaranteed violence in all elements of a fight, and that he relishes the wars, but he also wouldn't mind getting in and out clean.
Absolutely. Like I said, the guy loves to fight. You can tell when you watch him that he loves to fight.
To give you a little bit of background info there on Joseph Garcia, he is a two-time All-State wrestler in the state of Colorado, along with having some wrestling experience at Adams State College.
His opponent fighting out of the red corner. He comes to us also with a record of 3 wins and only 3 defeats. He weighed in at already 155.4 pounds.
It's always interesting to see, once the action unfolds, when you have two guys who say that they're up for a fight of the night type of scrap, who's really ready to put their money where their mouth is?
That's right, and both these guys, when you say something like that, you're basically saying, I want to break my opponent. When two guys want to break each other, it makes for a fight of the night. It makes for violence, and that's what people want to see.
Certainly. And this is a contest between two veteran schools on the Colorado MMA scene, between Factory X in Denver, Colorado, and Pariah MMA of Colorado Springs. In the corner of Joseph Garcia, we have Professor Scott Miller. And then on the side of Hector Combest, we have Drew Lawrence. Each team has had multiple fighters on the card tonight. Referee Yoel Ojeda gets the action underway, and they meet in the center.
Right away, you see Joseph try to put Hector on the back foot.
And Joseph goes to pounce on the neck right away. Off of the takedown attempt from Hector Combest. Combest is looking for the takedown
Big
slam.
slam.
Ends up in side control. Joseph Garcia is working hard to try to work his way back to the feet. Now back into the front headlock position, and he's clear.
Right back up. See, that's the thing people don't do. They get taken down, big slam, and then they settle, right? They settle, and then they allow their opponent to work, and then that's how they end up on the bottom for the whole round. Here, Joseph needs to change his head position. Hector's winning the head position. He's doing a good job of transitioning his wrestling. And again,
Hector with the
puts
second takedown.
Joseph on the mat and
Working
takes
toward
his
the back
back.
of Joseph. Joseph doing a good job of defending it so far, though. He does have one hook in. Joseph needs to continue to try to work to his feet. Not a good position right now as both hooks are in for Hector Combest.
Joseph's looking to come out through the middle. Both hooks are in.
Now the hips of Combest are high, but he's sinking himself back down. What does Joseph need to look to do to get out of this
Joseph's going to
terrible
want to,
position?
he's going to want to isolate. He wants to isolate one hook, get to his hip. Now he transitioned to body triangle. He wants to work. I would work to the cage if I were Joseph Ramirez, close enough. Defend your neck.
And we saw from Hector, that's a mistake that sometimes guys will make when they take the back, is they want to sit flat on their own back instead of working to a side. That gave Joseph enough space to try to work off to a side.
Right. So the fact that Joseph is here putting Hector on his back, see how his hips were high, he's rolled back through now, but he wants to get back to that position, put his hips high, put the weight back on Hector. Right here he's going to try to swim out, come out on top, and this is where Joseph thrives, is in that ground and pound position.
Now keep in mind, folks, this is elimination action, so we cannot see elbows legally in this contest. Sometimes people will watch the stream of an amateur fight and they will question, why is he not throwing an elbow in this exchange? Well, Cody, that's because that is illegal in the state of Colorado. Hector Combest, though, you have to give him credit for his ride control.
Yeah, he's being relentless. He keeps chaining his wrestling. Joseph gets out, and he's right back to another takedown.
I'm not sure what caused it, but yeah, Hector Combest has a pretty nice little mouse underneath that left eye. It might have been one of those big left hands coming from Joseph.
Joseph going to the collar tie and back in on a shot. And Joseph is relentless. He has that constant pressure, that wrestler's background. Like you said, he was All-State. He's wrestled his whole life, and he's trying to go get one of his own here.
Joseph is just that junkyard dog. Sometimes he's that guy where it's almost like that fight that you had with your brother back in the day, where you guys are in just some crazy tangled up position, but you're figuring out a way just to punch him from somewhere. You may be punching him in the hip, you may be punching him in the side, the arm, the shoulder, something, but he is always constantly trying to score in some way or fashion.
Absolutely, you know, Joseph will hit you wherever he can. He'll bite your knee off. He doesn't care. The kid just goes, right? And he's an animal, and Hector did a good job of kind of slowing it down and working to his positions. You know, one thing to note though is Hector at the end of that round looked to maybe be a little tired, a little gassed, and Joseph was coming for it. I know because I train with Joseph that he has tremendous cardio. He will push for the whole entire 9 minutes. He doesn't care whether he's dead tired or not. He will push for it. It's gotten him in trouble in some of his fights, but he doesn't understand the break. He will only gas all the time. And that can be exhausting if you're not used to that kind of pressure.
Yeah, that pressure is just like we said to start off the fight. It's menacing, really and truly, the way that he's constantly pushing the pressure. But again, though, that round took a lot out of both of those guys, Cody. That was a very high-paced 3 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. Multiple takedowns, both guys attempting to get the fight to the ground.
And Professor Scott Miller asking for Joseph Garcia to stay long with the jab. You have to think, you wonder if Joseph Garcia feels something out of that uppercut because he went for pretty much right off the rim.
Looked low, went high on that kick. You know, these guys are both kind of coming out slower this round. Like you said, I think that first round might have taken a lot out of both of them.
Joseph's doing a little bit of chasing right now, though, as opposed to working angles and cutting him off. Would you say that that's fair?
Yeah, definitely. You know, he's chasing. Hector's doing a good job of circling. Nice. See the feints. The feints are what's opening up his attacks. Joseph needs to be in and out. He's kind of planting his feet and throwing and then not moving in and out. Hector's doing a good job of circling and getting out of the way.
I would like to see Joseph get his head a little bit more off the center line once he's done. Because he has taken a couple of counter shots. He's gotten cracked a couple of times off the back.
He is not that moving. It was a good uppercut there. You know, he needs to, I think he'll find success if he can start pushing the pace. You know, I know he might be a little tired. He seems to be the fresher of the two. I would push the pace. Hector needs to keep kind of circling and finding his shots where he can. Don't be surprised if you see Hector go to wrestling here.
If you're Hector and you're just basically being chased instead of being cut off, do you change at all? If you're a little bit winded, do you try to recover a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it's working for him. He's not taking a lot of damage right now. He's able to get out of the way. He's recovering. When he does try to crash is when he's taking the most damage on the way in and out. I would keep moving. You know, he's tired. It's hard to move when you're tired. He needs to stay on his bike and recover right now. He's tired.
We are seeing a little bit more labored shots from both guys here, but as you mentioned, Joseph Garcia does seem to be a little bit fresher. But again, we've seen a lot of gritty performances all throughout the card tonight, Cody. Really, it comes down to who wants it more, who's willing to dig deep. And it's a game of inches. Who's willing to, as Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday said, who's willing to fight, scratch, claw, and die for that inch?
That's right, and you see Joseph keep going back to that uppercut. I'd like for him to maybe change up his combos a little bit. He keeps throwing that uppercut, and he's finding a home for it.
Not to cut you off there, my
No,
apologies.
absolutely. Hector needs to get some kind of offense. Joseph's just stalking him, walking forward. He's not respecting him anymore. Hector's got to get his respect back.
And Joseph Garcia is starting to tee off a little bit here. You know, anything that he could do to work to set up that left hand, I feel like, is extremely advantageous. He is finding it from time to time.
He's throwing that jab out there. He's throwing the jab first.
You know, and it's tough because it's from the rear side, but if he were to switch hands, it's a little bit easier with the lead hand if you weave. So by weave, folks, what I mean by that is you fake uppercut and then you come hook, or vice versa.
Exactly, yeah. You show the uppercut and pull it just short and then maybe come over the top. You know, he needs to start mixing up his strikes. He keeps going that 1-1 uppercut, 1-1 uppercut. You know, you're going to get, you kind of found out, you know, you can't just keep going back to the well on that. Just mix it up a little bit, you know. And I'm sure Coach Scotty's telling him that and letting him know, like, here's the game plan, here's what we're going to work through, and get back to this, get back to that. You know, he was calling the shots, and Joseph's doing a great job of landing them. Hector needs to breathe deep here, and you know, it's 1-1 right now going into this last round, and whoever wants it more is going to get it.
Certainly.
How many times have we said that tonight?
We have the doc up on the steps right now. It'll be interesting to see if he takes a look at the the right eye of Hector Combest. It does appear that he's keeping a glance on it from a distance. However, from my vantage point, I do not believe that we're in jeopardy here, and it looks like that's the case.
This is this round is the fight right here. So these guys got to decide who wants it, right?
Oh,
the
no, here
doctor will
comes
come up.
Fly Fishing Doc, Alex Contanides. And we are all set and clear to go. That's the best fight doc in the business right there. I love that guy.
Joseph comes out immediately, takes center.
And he finds that uppercut again right away, but he's not out of trouble right now. Hector Combest is still very much in this fight.
Yeah, he's walking into those punches. Joseph needs to work on being in and out. He gets in that junkyard dog mindset of he just is going to come forward, and sometimes that gets him in trouble. Like I said earlier, he needs to be in and out, setting his stuff up a little bit better.
This may be somewhat of a taboo comparison just based off of the name and the current situation, but I don't take it that way. I think that you can compare a style like Joseph Garcia to a young Diego Sanchez.
Oh, I agree.
When he was the nightmare and when he was just absolutely running through everything, maybe you're taking 2 or 3 but you're landing your 1 and you're vicious when you do.
Coach Scotty adamant, push the pace, push the pace. Coach Scotty wants him to go. I don't know what the confusion was there, what he was asking for.
I want to know, I can't see from our angle if somebody's mouthpiece fell out. That's what it might have been looking for. But it looks like they both have him in. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he was asking for. Joseph just turning on the pressure, keeping the pressure. He needs to win the head position here. You don't want to get taken down. That can cost you the round, right? Like you need to make sure you're still, even though you're trying to go distinguish that you won the round, you're trying to separate yourself. You still need to remain in good form. You need to stay in your frames and in your position because you get taken down here, it could cost you the fight,
And Coach Drew Lawrence asking for knees here from Hector Combest. Now he's asking for him to circle around and to try to work the takedown. Professor Scott Miller from Joseph Garcia is asking for the pry bar defense from the takedown. He does have both hands locked for that takedown. Joseph has to try to work himself up right away. You never know how those takedowns are going to factor on the judge's scorecard. Joseph needs to really get that knee down on the mat, needs to get that left knee down on the mat and use the cage to walk himself up right now. He cannot get comfortable with that arm over the head.
You don't want to settle here. You never want to settle on the bottom. You need to. I know he's tired, but it'll be much worse if you don't work up from this position. Right? If you're not working, he's got 1 hook in. He's okay here. He's not on the neck.
There's short time in the round. Joseph is doing a good job at defending off the submission, but that's an interesting way to end the round right there. When as strong as a start that Joseph had in the 3rd round, he's working his way toward the top. It's a pretty 50-50 exchange right here.
If he could finish on top, that would be huge for him.
10 seconds left.
He's going to finish on top. That'll be big. If he finishes doing damage,
top,
that would be big. It's going to be interesting how they score this fight. Joseph came on strong in the beginning of the 3rd. I thought the fight came down to the 3rd round. Joseph came on strong in the beginning of the 3rd. Walked him down for 2 minutes. Got taken down, kind of controlled for 30 seconds, maybe 45. Was able to reverse at the end of the round and ended doing damage. I don't know how they're going to score that. It depends, like we said, on what the judges see in the takedown. What does a takedown mean to the judges? And I'm not the guy to answer that question.
Certainly. And to highlight the striking situation here, you had Joseph land that left hand, which sent Hector Combest staggering back for a second there in that 3rd round. So how do these significant strikes stack up against the takedowns? That's what I believe it's going to come down to in this final round. But either way, you have to give your hats off to these 2 fighters right here. I mean, what a heart-filled performance from these 2 warriors right now.
Yeah, it's a great fight. And you've seen it all night. The fights all night have been great. How many fights have come down to the 3rd round? How many fights have been who wants it more? And I think part of that is just having the crowd here, having the atmosphere. It's a different atmosphere when you have your family and your friends and your teammates here watching and cheering you on.
And great matchmaking helps, too. Thank you there, Rick Garcia.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once again, Cody, we have a little bit of time in between these cards being tallied up over there by Mr. Eric Hines. Might be a little bit of a mixed result here.
I think another split decision might be coming our way.
moment for them to gather and tally these official scores. Taking a look at what we're seeing right now presently in the cage, both of these two gentlemen are just exhausted.
Yeah,
That's how you know that they left every last ounce of what they had in the cage. You gotta love that.
Oh, definitely. You know, they definitely left everything they had in there, and it shows, like you said, by how they're acting right now. They're tired, and that's what you want. You don't want to feel like you had more to give at the end.
That fight was gangster.
What a contest.
The judges have reached a decision.
The official
Judge
decision.
Short sees the bout 29-28, Combest. Judge Mason sees the bout 29-28, Garcia. Judge Van Tine sees the bout 29-28 for your winner by split decision. And fighting out of the blue corner, Joey Garcia.
And a great show of sportsmanship right there between the two fighters. You know, that's one where really and truly, Cody, and that's a tough fight to call right
It was
there.
a great fight. Both guys had their moments. You know, they did their thing, and they both showed out, left everything they had in the cage. And like we said, I've been saying it all night. This is what the amateurs are for. They're for these kind of fights. They're for these kind of wars where you can test your mettle and see what you're made of, and realize I can get through it. And then when you do that, that's how you're preparing yourself for your pro career.
I think that's a great learning lesson for Joseph to have, though, once again, in that if you're up late into the third round, it's not to say that you necessarily need to run, if you will, but you don't need to engage in the firefight at that point. So, and it's going to come to a certain point, you know, as it is right now as an amateur, you can take those chances. But as you progress in your career, it's about that result. You know, as much as you love the process, it's about whatever that final decision is. Do you want to continue to put yourself in potentially jeopardized positions when you are ahead in a fight?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's just that fight IQ. That's the hardest thing to learn. That's the hardest thing to get better. You can get your striking better by drilling. You can get your wrestling better by drilling. You can get your jiu-jitsu